Hello everyone, this is Dr. Muhammad Abrar and welcome back to our exploration of elasticity of supply, a fundamental concept in microeconomics found in chapter 6. As you know, I have broken down this exciting chapter into three insightful parts. In my previous part, in part 1, I explained elasticity of demand in detail. Today, in this second part, we will delve into how suppliers respond to change in the price and other factors, shedding light on their ability to adjust production quantities in response to the market dynamics. Let's kick off with the deep dive into elasticity of supply. The price elasticity of supply. At the higher prices, firms are willing and able to produce more output, more quantity, whereas at lower prices, the firms are willing and able to produce less output. But how much? How much less output? That we will discuss through the price elasticity of supply. So the price elasticity of supply measures how responsive the producers are to change in the price of a good or services. When supply is elastic, it means that the producers can easily adjust the quantity supplied in response to change in prices. This elasticity typically occurs when producers have readily available resources or can quickly increase the production without significant additional cost. For example, in industry where raw materials are abundant and production processes are flexible, such as software development or certain food products, supply tend to be elastic. And conversely, when supply is inelastic, the producers are less responsive to change in price. So this situation arises when it is difficult or costly to produce to adjust the quantity supplied in response to price changes. For instance, in industry where the production requires specialized equipment, specialized skills, specialized labor, or limited resources such as a custom-made luxury goods or certain medical supplies, so supply tends to be inelastic. How we can measure the price elasticity of supply quantitatively? So the quantitative measure of elasticity supply is equal to the percentage change in quantity supply divided by the percentage change in price. The concept of price elasticity also applies to supply. So we use the percentages, so it does not matter which unit of measure we are using. The elasticity formula is the same as that we use for the elasticity of demand, but we substitute the word supplied for the word of demanded everywhere in the formula. Just like when the price elasticity of demand, we will compute the price elasticity of supply using the midpoint formula. So elasticity of supply will always be positive since price and quantity supplied move in the same direction. So how we can quantify this form, the midpoint formula, that will be QS2 minus QS1, that is the quantity 2, that is the new quantity, minus the previous or the original quantity supply, divided by the average of the quantity, that is QS1 plus QS2 divided by 2. So that we need to divide with the change in the price. How we can calculate that? The P2 minus P1, the new price minus the previous or the original price, divided by the average price. So the P1 plus P2 divided by 2. We will get the elasticity of supply. Price elasticity may have a different situations when elasticity can be greater than 1, elasticity can be equal to 1 or less than 1, or exceptionally it can be equal to 0 as well. So when the elasticity is greater than 1, so it's called a elastic supply. This means that a relative small percentage change in price result in a larger percentage change in quantity supplied. For example, if the price of a commodity increased by 10% and as a result the quantity supplied increased by 15%, that's more than 10%, so the elasticity of supply would be greater than 1 and it will be considered a elastic supply. Meanwhile, when the elasticity is equal to 1, that's called a unit elastic or unitary elastic. This indicates that a percentage change in quantity supply is exactly same or proportional to the percentage change in the price. For instance, if a 10% increase in price leads to a 10% increase in quantity supplied, the elasticity of supply would be 1. That's a unit elastic supply. And when the elasticity is less than 1, so here a change in the price causes a smaller change in the quantity supplied. For example, if a 10% increase in price results in only a 5% or 6% change in the quantity supplied, that is less than 10%. So in that case, the elasticity will be less than 1 and it's considered an inelastic supply. In case where the elasticity is equal to 0, that's called perfectly inelastic supply. This means that the quantity supplied does not respond at all to change in price. For example, certain life-saving medications or rare antiques might have a perfectly inelastic supply because their productions or availability cannot be quickly adjusted or response to the price changes. So understanding the elasticity of supply allows a firm to respond quickly to the price changes, potentially increase the revenue. Inelastic supply, on the other hand, can lead to price volatility and shortage if the demand fluctuates significantly. Times play a crucial role in determining the elasticity of supply because it affects producers' ability to adjust their production level in response to a price changes. These are typically three-time periods considering when analyzing the elasticity of supply in intermediate market, short run, and the long run. If we talk about the intermediate market, this period is very short, often considered in terms of hours, days, or weeks, where the producers cannot easily adjust their output level in response to the price changes. So in this period, the supply of good is considered inelastic because the producer cannot increase a production immediately. For example, if the price of a fresh vegetable suddenly rises due to a shortage caused by a bad weather, or maybe farmers cannot quickly increase their harvesting to meet the increased demand. So as a result, supply remain relatively fixed in an immediate market period, leading to a low elasticity of supply or less elasticity of supply. Meanwhile, in short run, that refers to a period where producers have some ability to adjust their production level by varying the employment of variable factors of productions such as labor and raw material. However, fixed factor of productions like factory capacity or land or machinery cannot be easily changed. So in this period, the elasticity of supply is typically higher than the immediate market period, but still relatively inelastic. For instance, if the price of smartphone increases, manufacturers increase the production by adding more shift or hiring more workers, but they are limited with existing factory capacity or the availability of the skilled labor. And lastly, if we talk about the long run, in long run, all factors of productions are variable and producers can adjust their productions level more flexibly. They can expand or reduce their production capacity, enter or exit the industry, and adopt a new technologies. As a result, the elasticity of supply in long run is generally higher than the short run and immediate market. For example, if the price of a solar panel rises due to increased demand for the renewable energy, so the firms can build the new factories, hire more workers, and invest in research to improve the production efficiency. This flexibility allows for a more elastic response to price changes compared to the both short run and immediate market. So thus, time consider a primary determinant for elasticity of supply because it influences the producer's ability to adjust their production level in response to price changes. So the immediate market period reflect the least elasticity supply due to the inability to adjust the production quickly, whereas the short run and long run allows for greater flexibility in production adjustment, leading to higher elasticity supply over the time period. If we can look at this diagram where we have a vertical supply curve that's indicating a perfectly inelastic supply. This refers to a scenario where the quantity supplied of a good or services remain constant regardless of change in its price. This situation arises when producers are unable to adjust their output in response to price changes, typically due to a constraint such as fixed production or limited availability of the essential resources. So in economic term, a perfectly inelastic supply is represented graphically by a vertical supply curve, as you can see in this current diagram, where the quantity supply remain constant regardless of change in price. So this means that even if demand were to be increased significantly, suppliers are unable or unwilling to increase their production. So one prominent example of perfectly inelastic supply is antiques product. These items, often rare and historically significant, are typically one of a kind or limited in number. Since they cannot be reproduced or manufactured anew, their supply is fixed in short term and even in the long term to a larger extent. So as a result, regardless of change in demand or price, whether due to the fluctuation in consumer preferences, economic conditions, or even change in the prices, the quantity of antique product available for sale remain unchanged. That's indicating a perfectly inelastic supply. In a second diagram, in the context of elasticity of supply, the distinction between short-run and long-run adjustment that plays a critical role. In the short run, firms have an ability to adjust their output levels by varying their wage of variable input such as labor and raw materials, while fixed inputs such as capital equipment and factory space remain constant. This distinction leads to a less elastic supply curve in short run compared to the long run. So a least or less elastic supply curve indicate that firms are less responsive to change in price. So a huge change in prices will bring a very small change in quantity supply. This characteristics is visually represented by a steeper upward sloping supply curve on a current graph. So when supply is a less elastic or inelastic, a larger change in price results only a small change in quantity supply. This is because firm cannot easily or quickly adjust their production capacities when faced with price fluctuation over a very short period of time. In other way, in the context of supply over a longer time period or in long run, firms have the flexibility to adjust all inputs due to the passage of time, rendering all factors available. This means that in response to change in market condition, such as the price increases or decreases, so the firms can alter their production level by expanding or reducing their scale of operations. In economic term, this elasticity of supply in the long run is a greater than the short run because firms cannot only adjust the quantity produced by varying their current inputs, but also they can make the strategic decisions about their entire scale of operations by expanding the size of the firms or installing a new firms or expanding the size of the firm. For instance, if demand rises, firms can increase the output by just by using the existing resources more intensively, like in a short run we do it, but by potentially building a new facilities, hiring more labor and adopting more efficient technologies to significantly boost the production. Conversely, in response to declining the demand, firms can downsize their operation. They can reduce the capacity or even exit the market entirely, so illustrating a high degree of responsiveness to market changes. This ability to adjust the production level and the firm size distinguish long-run supply elasticity, making it crucial in understanding how markets respond to shift in demand and uh, pricing conditions. If we talk about the applications, antiques, as we discussed, antiques and the other non-reproducible commodities have a perfectly inelastic supply, or for one of a kind antique, the supply is perfectly inelastic. This makes their price highly susceptible to fluctuation in demand. So the more inelastic the supply, the greater the change in price when the demand changes. And if we talk about the reproductions, on the other hand, we have much more elastic supply, so the price tend to remain lower when there is an increase in demand. And if we talk about the gold prices are volatile because the supply of the gold is highly inelastic, and unstable demand from speculation cause prices to fluctuate significantly. As we conclude this insightful lecture, I appreciate your engagement and participation. If you have any question, feedback, or suggestions for future topics would you like me to cover, please share them in the comment below. So your input is valuable for me as we continue to explore and expand our understanding of these concepts together. So until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Remember to like this video and subscribe to channel for more enriching lectures. Thank you once again for joining me.